This is Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host. So good to have you with us on this Monday afternoon. And again, we want to welcome his channel that's joining us and our growing family of Washington Watch listeners and viewers now. To find out more about how you can get one of the stations, if you're listening via another means, you can go to tonyperkins.com. Also, you can download the Stand Firm app. Stand Firm. Go to the App Store, get the Stand Firm app, and each day you can be notified when Washington Watch is coming onto the air. All right, as the crisis continues to escalate at the southern border, more and more pressure is being applied to the Biden administration to take action. And as I mentioned before, I was there just a little over a year ago, and it was like a ghost town. Well, not anymore. Looks like Grand Central Station. And we're seeing a number of reports over the last week suggest some movement within the administration, including the possibility of a return to construction of the southern border wall, at least to fill in gaps that undocumented aliens took advantage of when construction was halted. Well, we're going to be joined in just a moment by House Republican Whip Steve Scalise, who led a congressional delegation to the border last week. He held a press conference after his delegation's border tour on Friday and made very clear that it was President Biden's reversal of Trump-era policies that led to this surge of migrants at the border. Now, Steve also noted the hypocrisy that we've been seeing from the supposed champions of science. You know, you may recall how President Biden had criticized governors who relaxed masking mandates in their states and said their thinking was Neanderthal. Well, it seems he's fine with sticking more than 4,000 migrants into a facility designed for 250 with no mask. Here's what Congressman Steve Scalise had to say about this at his press conference on Friday.
When you talk about what's happening in that Donovan detention facility, for example, you've got right now in most states, you can't have more than 250 people in a facility. Restaurants are being told they can't have more than 25% capacity, and yet you've got the Donovan detention facility right down the street that has a capacity of 250 people that has over 4,000 in that facility today, in the middle of a global pandemic. Where's President Biden's concern about the science that he used to talk about when he was a candidate that now he has abandoned? He is letting, they said about 10% of the people in that facility right now have COVID-19. And they're not 6 feet apart, they're not 3 feet apart. When we saw these cells that they're holding these kids in, designed for 33 people and there's over 400 in them, they're inches apart, many without masks, transmitting COVID. They're super spreader events, and you don't see any concern by President Biden for that. These are the things that we're going to continue to expose and let people all across the country know what's going on. You see so many members of Congress from all around the nation. We're going to continue to spread this message, and it can all be stopped today. Well, the ultimate goal would be to get President Biden to address this problem and fix it. He can do it. He created this problem with a stroke of a pen. He can fix this problem with the stroke of a pen.
You know, what is so alarming about this is, and again, this is a clear contrast between administrations. The Trump administration had the resistance of Congress because the Democrats held the House for a good portion of his time. He was unable to get anything through, so he had to act unilaterally, and he did it with the tools that he had available. But part of it was requiring people who came to this country to stay on the other side of the border and be processed in a very reasonable manner. They stayed over there until their number came up, and then they had a hearing, and then it was adjudicated. And again, as I was down there with that process in place a little over a year ago, the border was like a ghost town. Now, I mean, there's a run on the border. It's all because of the policies that the Biden administration has pursued. You know, and think about this. All right, they're saying that they want to be compassionate and kind. Is it really compassionate and kind to put 4,000 people into a facility designed to hold 250? How compassionate is that? I don't understand the compassion of the liberal mind. Actually, the rule of law is compassionate Because when you have the rule of law and you have rules and everybody knows what those rules are and they abide by those rules, guess what? Everybody's kept safe. The border was safe. We actually had Border Patrol agents who were cracking down on those bringing drugs across, those who were trafficking, trying to traffic human beings, because they had the ability to do that. They don't have the ability to do that now. I've talked to many members that have been down on the border in the last few months who say the Border Patrol agents are spending all of their time essentially babysitting these unaccompanied minors and processing everyone else. And so there's very little border security going on. I mean, it's just wide open, making this a very dangerous situation. Now, we can go further. We can talk about the fact that if you're an American citizen, and let's say you're in, I don't know, you can go to Guatemala, go to Honduras, or you can go to Europe. You pick it. Before you can come into the country, you have to have a coronavirus test. Within 3 days of coming into the country, you have to prove that you have taken a test and you don't have the virus. But if you're a migrant, an illegal alien coming into this country, the door is wide open. And then there's the reports of parents that are walking up at night just dropping their kids off over the border because we have to, we're taking them and processing them and sending them all over the country. This is a disaster. It is not only a security issue, it is a humanitarian crisis. And as Congressman Scalise said in his press conference, and he's tied up another call, we may be getting him shortly here, but this is something the Biden administration is trying to keep from the American people. They're not letting the media into these venues to see the overcrowded nature of what's happening. Remember, we had some senators that went down a couple of weeks ago and took some pictures, and they tried to get the pictures from the senators because they don't want the American people to know what's happening. Because again, it is a clear contrast between administrations. Just one area of contrast, but a significant one that many Americans are concerned about, especially those that are living in border states. Watch this. Watch this issue very, very carefully because this could easily mushroom as we see people coming across the border that are from other countries other than Central and South America who are coming to this country for, well, let's just say not good purposes. This is dangerous. All right, I think Congressman Scalise, he may be joining us, I'm not sure, but we're going to keep talking here. He's going to be joining us in just a moment, I'm told. I want to go back while we're waiting for him to come and join us to talk about what happened at the border last week. I want to go back to this issue of the election reform. This is an extremely important issue because people really don't want you to know. The media does not want you to know what is happening on this front. There's about, I think it's about 45 states, if I'm not mistaken. Let me get my notes here. There's at least 55 bills that are moving through legislatures in 24 states. Now, these are actively moving through. There are about, in total, 361 bills that have been introduced. But, it doesn't necessarily mean things are moving if you introduce a bill. There have been 361 bills introduced in 47 states, but there are 55 bills that are moving through in at least half the states in the country. These are moving through. They've gone through one chamber or another or been signed into law. This is good news. Now, the media doesn't want you to know this because, number one, it takes away the quote-unquote demand for H.R. 1, which is the left's takeover of our election system. It's a federal takeover. It's a federal coup of elections. And that is, they need that narrative. They need to say, well, we've got to fix this so we can have democracy and we can protect people's rights. Look, the irregularities that took place in the November election are being corrected by these states, by Georgia, which the woke corporate CEOs are all upset about. The left is all upset about. Arizona, Governor Ducey there pushing back on threats to take the NFL, the Super Bowl, out of his state. So these things need to continue. You need to stay in tune with what's happening in your state in terms of election reform. Voter ID is a big one. Making sure that if you are voting, it's you. It is actually you, voter ID. And then taking away this financial opportunity that outside parties have to influence elections. All right. We do have Congressman Scalise by phone. He joins us now. Congressman Steve Scalise, welcome to the program.
Hey, Tony, great to be with you. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. I played a clip of your press conference. Nice glasses you were wearing there. I want to. We talked a little bit about the overcrowdedness at the border. What were your other observations?
Well, the observations were that, first of all, our Border Patrol agents are overwhelmed, and they didn't sign up to be babysitters. They signed up to stop drug dealers and bad people from coming into our country. And they're right now being diverted away from doing that, and they don't want to. They said over 40% of our Border Patrol agents today are over at these detention facilities, changing diapers and taking care of these unaccompanied young kids that are coming across our border in droves. And the drug dealers know this. The drug dealers, by the way, the cartels are the ones that are running our border right now. They're making millions of dollars a day off of this trade, this human trafficking. There's a lot of assault and rapes that are going on along with the trade coming across through many countries into the United States. And it was all because President Biden did a few things by executive order that sent the message across the world that America's borders open. And it's not just these countries in South and Central America. When we went to the Donna detention facility, I think you saw some of this in the press conference we held, there are over 50 countries represented at that facility, meaning not just people from Mexico or Guatemala. You've got people coming in from Middle Eastern countries, Eastern European countries. They've already detained 6 people that were on the terrorist watch list, and that's just what they told us about. We've asked to give a breakdown of how many people really have been captured, and they won't tell us anymore. It's literally being washed under the rug, and that should be alarming to every American. And not only to mention the fact that when you see these kids, they're just being it's inhumane conditions, Tony. This isn't America. These cells that they're holding these kids in, most of them like 8, 10 years old, are designed for 33 people, and there's over 400 in each of them. Kids, many were crying, didn't want to be there. And, a lot of them have COVID, which means they're all going to get COVID because they're literally on top of each other. No 6 feet social distancing, in many cases, not even 6 inches apart. And Joe Biden is the one who created this. I mean, they're telling you, depending on which state you're in, you can't even go to your restaurant, or maybe at 25% capacity. They're at more than 1,000% capacity at that Donna detention facility. And it's a national disgrace what they're doing. Biden could fix it today. He created it. And we've called on him and Kamala Harris to go down themselves and see what they've done with their destructive policies.
You mentioned what the disparity in what's happening at the state level. I mean, for instance, you fly on a plane, you're forced to wear a mask, or now under the Biden administration, it's a criminal offense, but yet you're packing all of these unaccompanied minors and others in these facilities. I want to go back to something you just said there a minute ago. I want to make sure I heard you correctly and that people don't miss this. You can't, as a member of Congress, as the minority whip of the United States Congress, you can't get information about what's happening at the border?
No, and we're talking about not just numbers of how many people are coming across illegally. We're talking about how many people on the terrorist watch list have been apprehended so far since President Biden took the oath of office. We've seen media reports that there are 6 people right now that they've captured that were on the terrorist watch list. We only found that out through media reports. Then when the Biden administration was pressed on it, they tried to act like it was all classified and wouldn't even confirm the 6. They didn't deny it, by the way. So it's alarming that this is going on. I will tell you numbers that I heard from the Border Patrol agents when I was asking some of these questions the other day in McAllen, Texas. I said, how many criminals have you captured? And they said about 1,000 criminals who were held in federal prison in the United States of America, served their time, and when they were finished, they were here illegally, they committed federal crimes. When they were finished, they were sent back to their country. Over 1,000 of them have come back. By the way, over 100 of those are people who had pedophilia crimes, those type of sex crimes. Over 100 of them that did time in America for those kind of heinous crimes were deported and have come back because they know our borders open just in the last few weeks.
Wow.
Those are just the ones who caught, Tony. And so, you wonder why Kamala Harris won't even come down when President Biden put her in charge of it. I think it's a disgrace that she's in charge of this as the Vice President of the United States and won't even come and see it for herself. Maybe she thinks if she doesn't acknowledge it, it will go away. But
well, it's not going away. That's for sure.
It's not going away. I wish it was.
We got to leave it there. Congressman Steve Scalise, thanks so much for joining us today. As always, great to talk with you.